going to do tonight to celebrate?
I'm going to eat some Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream with my wife and smoke a Cuban cigar and then probably go to the hospital.
The following is a presentation of Hobson Media. Woohoo!
Who's got it better than us?
This is the Church Pew Sports Podcast, featuring a group of pastors delivering bombastic takes on sports, life, and faith.
We're going to attack this day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
Take a knee.
Man, it's hard to break us now. It's hard to break us. As a matter of fact, you ain't going to do it.
Lend an ear.
These are some of the best questions I've had. I have to tell you that straight up.
As the Church Pew Sports Podcast begins.
We were all supposed to be here together, man. We're destined for this. Just stay the course.
Give each other a high five.
Yes, indeed. Give each other some high fives, which actually I think that's what they're doing in the Chargers locker room these days, as Coach Harbaugh has that team off to a pretty good start, although that soundbite, I believe, was associated with a prior stop on his coaching resume. Hello, friends, and welcome into Church Pew Sports. It is good to have you with us as we connect sports to life and faith and have a lot of fun doing it along the way. Bill Hobson here, Pastor Paul Miller joining us from a rather balmy setting, I believe, in the Texas region. Is this correct, Paul?
No, I am in Minnesota.
Oh, you're in Minnesota, where it's also balmy in your particular location right now.
Just balmy in my apartment because, you know, we don't really run the AC, but then when the AC goes out, next thing I know, it's 83 degrees here.
How cozy.
And
man,
yeah.
Mid-February, you're going to love that kind of thing. You're going to wish that was the case all the time.
Yep.
Also joining us on the program is Carson Greenhaw. Where are you, Carson? And what's the temperature there?
Aurora, Colorado, a beautiful 76. We are entering in first day of autumn today. Am I right? So haven't had a snow yet. Praise God, because my tomatoes are still green.
That sounds like a name of a country song that you ought to be working on. My tomatoes are still green. Paul, there is so much to talk about in the world of sports. Obviously, football is the dominant headline, but there's a little something from every part of the world. We even have, a little bit later in the program, a new cheating scandal that is kind of in a similar vein to we have weights and fish sort of a thing that we'll get to a little bit later on. That's my teaser for later on. This one doesn't involve any actual wildlife, but it's pretty close. It takes place in the water. In the meantime,
You'll have to explain to Carson when we get there based on the facial expressions. I
got nothing.
So Carson, you're not familiar with the fishing scandal from a couple of years ago?
Oh, I know about that one.
Okay,
I
so
don't
now
know
the
about
next.
what you're
Okay, yeah, we'll get into this new one. I got plenty of material for the latest bizarre cheating scandal. Meanwhile, because of my biases in favor of teams like my Lions and your Tigers, because right now they're your Tigers, they are not my Tigers.
Yeah,
I want to talk a little bit about epic performances by teams where you see whether it's your favorite team or one that you root for from afar, or you just like excellence. You see teams that are on steep rises. They are on steep inclines. And then sometimes out of the blue, your favorite team is on a precipitous drop. And in my part of the world, we kind of have both of those things happening at once. The Lions are very strong right now. And the Detroit Tigers are putting together the kind of collapse that last year they took advantage of. This time last year, the Tigers were making history. 12 months later, the Tigers are making history. So as you guys think about maybe your sports fandom, Paul, I'm guessing you're going to go to the 86 Bears, but what do you recall from your favorite teams, or maybe it's last year's Buckeyes, on the rise where you just know that something good is going to happen when they take to the field of competition?
Yeah, I'm struck by the fact that you're talking about these rises and then these falls, but like they can happen from week to week.
Yeah.
That's, as you were talking, that's what I was thinking about. You talk about the Lions being strong. I'm wondering if you would have said that after week one.
No.
Of the NFL season, right? And then they played the Bears, and it was kind of like fool's gold in week two because everybody whoops on the Bears, right? But then after this week, you're feeling all right. And I get it. I totally get it. It's not dissimilar to me rooting for the Buckeyes last year and watching them lose in Ann Arbor or in Columbus, lose to their rival and inexplicably. And it's like the depths of despair. And then they turn around and go on what's being described as like the greatest run in the history of college football, whatever. It also happens to be the only playoff run so far in a 12-team playoff. How convenient is that, right? But anyways, it's like the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs. It's the surges and the collapses.
Well, clearly in my world, Monday Night Football was fairly enjoyable after things got rolling and the Lions began, in many ways, kind of punching the Ravens in the nose, a team that is not normally punched in the nose. And in one case, they also punched the ball.
Jackson hands it to Henry. Henry hit from behind. Ball's out. Picked up by the Lions. They've got it inside the 20-yard line. DJ Reed with the football in his hands. The Lions stripped it away from Derrick Henry. What a big turn of events, and the Lions have got it now.
Followed shortly thereafter by...
Goff takes, turns, gives to Montgomery. 2 hands on that football. There he goes over the right side. 25, 20, cuts to the right at the 15, down to the 10, down to the 5, to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Demo to the house, 31 yards, and the Lions have put this game on ice.
Fun stuff, things that we didn't really think... I didn't really think they were going to dominate the game. They kind of did, even though it looks a little closer than it was on the scoreboard. So feels really good. And you're right, Paul, after week 1, it didn't feel that way. We kind of felt like that game against the Packers was almost a preseason feel for our starters because they had not touched the field. Yeah. So team on the uprise, right? So Carson, what's your moment of my team is going up?
I've got 2. And so this is epic. It's the exact same story for Kansas State. Michael Bishop's the quarterback. They're going into the Big 12 championship. You win the game, you go to the national title, and they lose. Go to a nothing bowl to get beat by Drew Brees. You also might recall the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history where Atlanta is flying high, heading in with that 23-3 lead, only to lose in the end. So all of mine are these like, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And then just the crash in the middle of a game or the game that holds you back. So those are my 2 of just seeing it like this might be it. And just takes it out of you.
Well, one of the guys who often joins us here on Church Pew, David Collins, and he may very well pop in during this episode, texted Paul and I during the Lions game. And he said, I don't believe in momentum. Momentum isn't a thing. I think it is. I think it very much is, and I'm sure he'll come along at some point and defend his statement on that, because we have, like you mentioned, the Super Bowl, you mentioned different things that happen in game. The reason there are 20-second timeouts in basketball is to just stop a crazy run by the other team. It's not nearly enough time to reset strategy. You can't even draw 5 X's and 5 O's on your whiteboard in 20 seconds. So, Paul, where do you stand on the existence of and the impact of momentum?
Yeah, I'll just lean in and look at the camera and say David's wrong. He's not here to defend himself, so I have no problem saying that. And I think it's especially true in basketball. You were talking about basketball, right? It's especially true in college basketball, especially true in college sports where young athletes are more susceptible to the emotional ups and downs and highs and lows and all that stuff. But I think you can feel it, you can know it. Like I was watching the Red Wings preseason game last night against the Blackhawks. Like hockey's coming back, right? And it's a good thing.
It's too soon.
Well, I'm watching that preseason game and there's this thing that happens in a hockey game, right? Like you can feel when a goal is coming because there's just this buildup of momentum, especially if you're watching the game in person. And I called 3 of the 5 goals that were scored in the preseason game last night. 2 for the Wings, 1 for the Blackhawks, where it's just like, I can tell it's coming. You can just tell. So I think you have to acknowledge that momentum is a thing. if you're going to say it's not, then you also got to say, like, there's no such thing as good luck in sports, which there is. So that's kind of where I would land on that.
The bounce of the ball going, you know, especially a football, you know, taking some crazy hop. Carson, where are you on the motivation and momentum kind of a idea?
Yeah, I think you see it across sports. I like how you brought in hockey. I think about volleyball too, with this rally scoring. Like when you're going, oh man, you call that timeout because a game in volleyball can get away. If we were just talking about, oh, this kind of happens in one sport, I'd be like, okay, but I think you see it basketball, football, volleyball. And then even K-State was playing Arizona, and the announcers got to the point where we're like, we're having such reviews that are taking so long. They just commented on how Arizona is driving the ball on K-State, and these reviews are taking so long, they then are 2 plays and done. And I think that speaks to it as well.
That can kill the energy in the entire stadium. And it does, right? When you have a 4-minute delay for a review, if you're in stadium, I actually, to support what Carson is saying, I actually believe the pomp and pageantry of college football is still a blast to be a part of. But the in-game, in-stadium experience, it's pretty miserable. I'm sorry. I mean, I have lots of friends who are season ticket holders at the Big House. I can't fit in the seats. They just keep painting the numbers closer, and my rear end doesn't keep matching the proximity of the neighboring number. When Paul and I and 2 other pastors went to a game a couple of years ago, we stood the whole game because we couldn't sit. We were a Spirit flight middle row seat would have felt more roomy than what you have at the Big House. And so when you stop for a review and then another TV timeout and then one play comes back and it's a TV, it's not very fun in the stadium. So momentum, I think, really does kind of take a hit in that regard. By the way, you could make a case for momentum lasting in one direction or another, multiple weeks. I would offer to the court Exhibit A in the form of my Detroit Tigers. Here is your Cy Young winner, Tarek Skubal, from Game 1 in the series against the Guardians, a series that the Tigers entered with a 1-game lead in first place in the division because 2 weeks ago they were up 14 games or something like that, and now things have just gone off the rails. Tigers have a 2-0 lead, middle of the game, and Guardians have a runner on first. And there's a bunt that the pitcher, Tarek Skubal, fields.
Martinez, he bunts first base line, picked up by Skubal, underhand, between the leg split, down the right field line into foul ground, he airmailed it, getting cute. Tarek Skubal, pretending he was an NFL center. Instead of hiking the ball to the quarterback, he hiked it to the end zone.
I don't know how well you all could hear that audio. It was a little bit funky from somebody who put it on social media, but they recorded it off of TV. So let me just kind of recap for you what happened here.
Yeah.
Tarek Skubal fields the bunt with his back to first base, and he would not have had time to wheel around and throw it normally to Torkelson at first base. He hiked it.
Yeah, he like flipped it between his legs, right?
Yes. He only airmailed Torque by about 4 feet. I don't think anybody currently in the NBA would have been able to grab that ball. It goes all the way down the right field line. Now you have runners on second and third. And Cleveland goes on to score, I think, 3 runs in the inning with the ball never leaving the infield. There was another bunt. There was an infield hit. And all of a sudden, everything's over with. And the Tigers are in trouble and all that stuff. And this epic collapse has been lasting for weeks. They have lost, and I don't want to get the stats wrong, but something like 13 of 14 games at a time when you couldn't fathom it. At the All-Star break, this was the most dominant team in baseball. They had the number 1 record in baseball, blah, blah. Okay, boys, I'm going to turn to you as my sports psychologists. How does this happen for weeks and weeks? Baseball is a fickle game, but it's not that fickle. If you were good enough with the same personnel in the first half of the season to have the best record in the game, where does it all go? Somebody help me.
So being in the state of Colorado, the momentum for the Rockies has been down for decades. How should we say? So I'm just letting you know it's not here. I don't know where it is. Maybe it's in Seattle with the Mariners. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like Seattle's taking it all up, but it's not here in Colorado.
Yeah, and every day as this lead diminished for the Tigers in the division, A.J. Hinch would say in his press conferences, "Here's the good news. Tomorrow morning we wake up and we're still in first place." And who wouldn't have signed up for that on day one? He's been saying that for 2 weeks. And he said that as recently as yesterday before game one. And they struck out, Paul. They struck out 19 times.
Yeah.
There are 27 outs in a game. They struck out 19 times. So you can't convince me that momentum doesn't exist, because either that or some sort of a pathological virus has infected this team at every level. So I'll ask you, where does it go?
Yeah, I was just going to say the funky thing about baseball is, and I've heard Scott Holmgren say this on this podcast, that a good manager has the ability to intercept lagging momentum and make the change, turn the tide, so to speak, and everything else. I got a text yesterday from my son, Jake, who went to Oklahoma State, and all he could talk about was Mike Gundy has lost the locker room. He's lost the fan base. He's lost the alumni. So it's time for him to go.
He's gone.
And now he's gone. So do they expect someone to come in and turn the thing on a dime? Like, so as a Tigers fan, when do you're not going to say, hey, get rid of Skubal just because he tried to throw the ball between his legs to the first baseman. You're not going to talk about the players yet, but when does AJ Hinch, when does his seat get hot? I think momentum, the guys aren't listening in the locker room. He's lost the room. He's talking, but no one's paying attention. They're not. His stories are starting to fall on deaf ears. I mean, I don't know. It's all those kind of things. I think, right, when they're all professional athletes and they're all good enough to win or to go on a winning streak or whatever, and they're just not. So
I would make a case and ask you guys if you agree with me that in all of professional sports, during in-game management, I really think that the baseball manager is the least important of all professional sports coaches, managers, because not that he's not pinch hitting at the right time and making the pitching changes and all that, but with a super successful player hitting 300, whatever levers you're pulling, you're still sending a guy up there who, at the best case scenario, you hope only fails 7 out of 10 times. So it's a really tough, and so in the first half of the season, when it seemed like AJ was doing everything right, now second half it kind of seems like he's doing everything wrong. He may very well be doing the same things. So it's very confounding. It's highly unlikely that they sent any batter up yesterday in game one and said, hey, listen, we've already struck out 14 times. What say you go make it 15 there, big fella? Right. So everybody's going up with different thoughts in mind. So that's my momentum up, momentum down examples. And in football, Paul, and I know you want to talk quarterbacks here for a little bit, a lot of that momentum can be impacted by the performance of the guy taking every snap for your team.
Yeah, I'm glad we have Carson in this conversation because, bro, we want to talk about the ups and downs of young quarterbacks in the NFL, right? Like, I just was making a list of guys who, off the top of my head, I could think of that have these inconsistent swings in performance, right? J.J. McCarthy, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson. It wasn't hard to make a list, right? Is that just, hey, man, it takes you several years to learn the quarterback position, and so you just got to roll with it if you draft a guy like Caleb Williams or JJ here in Minnesota, right? You're just going to have to wait it out. And if you always pick up Kirk Cousins on waivers and never give JJ a chance to experience his ups and downs or whatever, you're prolonging the inevitability of that? Give us your take on the young QBs this year in the NFL.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I had my crack research department whip something up for you guys. But first off, JJ, how many games has he actually started? Right. Like, I know it's his second year, but same for Penix. Like, okay, you're more first year guys, and you're being thrown in there. And that's what it feels like for Penix, is like, oh, you just need time to figure it out. I looked at every single quarterback, and I was like, at what season did a quarterback hit the 60% completion and 4,000 yards? And currently, of our starting quarterbacks in the NFL, 15 have hit that mark. And it took around the 3 to 4 year mark from when they were drafted to be there. Yep. Okay. So I was like, okay, so let's think of that in perspective then, of 3 to 4 years to hit that 60%, 4,000 yards. Now, here's my trivia question for you guys. 2 quarterbacks on this list, well-established starters, and one a Super Bowl winner, they've hit the 60% completion, but have never hit 4,000 yards. Do you know who they are?
So you said Super Bowl winners?
One Super Bowl winner.
Yeah.
Both entrenched as starters in their teams.
All right. I'm going to give you one. I'm going to take Russell Wilson.
Okay. What you got, Paul?
Trent Dilfer.
No, current.
I'm sorry. So okay, Russ. I'll give
Russell
you Russ.
Wilson. That's a guess.
Joe Flacco.
Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Kyler Murray was 29 yards off in year 2, and Jalen Hurts has been within 300. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Current starters, half of them have not had a season of 60% and 4,000 yards.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? You think about Hurts and that offense, and for the most part, they're not a deep ball throwing. So you would think that the check down, the percentage would be higher, right? If not, not the total yardage. I'm also reminded that the vast majority, maybe all the time, maybe there's not an exception, a rookie quarterback coming out of the draft or unsigned free agent is getting a 3-year deal, right? And so you've given a 3-year deal to somebody who is not likely to show you what they really have until that deal is done. So you've got a quarterback who in that 3rd year is kind of playing for his livelihood. In the case of J.J. McCarthy, he can't stay healthy, which makes me sad because I'm a big J.J. fan, of course, from Michigan. He played well in the opener, didn't play well in the second game, and then I think he's out 3 or 4 weeks. And so if I'm in Minnesota, I'm kind of wondering, it's an unanswerable question. No matter what the doctors tell you, they didn't see turf toe coming, right? Or whatever it is he has. At some point, either the mindset of contract negotiations has to shift a bit to say, okay, we know you're the rookie. We know everybody's talking about you. We are going to trust the process. We're going to bring in somebody else to get you through it, certainly the first year, maybe the first 2 years, and we don't care how much the fans are screaming at us, because that's where the real heat's coming from. You get that guy in there. We celebrated at draft day, and he was on our favorite school. That's where the heat's coming from, Paul. And I don't know if that's to the detriment of Justin Fields or Caleb Williams but they are still in their growth periods for the most part.
Yeah, and it's a conflict of timelines, right? Like, so you brought up Justin Fields, right? Like, so I think he was 3 years with the Bears, and then they just pulled the plug and went with Caleb Williams, and it was because they didn't want to. On the surface, it felt like, as a Bears fan, it felt like they just didn't want to give him another contract. They wanted to play him out on his rookie deal. And then they're like comparing Justin Fields to Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams will be on a rookie contract. And so financial decision. And I remember just being like, he's going to go to Pittsburgh and he's going to light it up and all the Bears fans are going to be ticked. And then he didn't really do much of anything in Pittsburgh. And now he's with the Jets and he's still experiencing his ups and downs. And so he's never had the stability to be able to grow through the surges and the collapses in his early career, right? And I think that story is way more common than any of us think, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Go ahead.
Well, and I would say So CJ Stroud comes in and does it his first year, right? And so everyone's like, this is the ticket. And Caleb Williams is the shiny new toy. Maybe he'll be Justin Herbert, another one that came in, did it first year. Maybe they'll be the guy. Patrick Mahomes, he doesn't start his first year, right? But his next year when he comes in, he does it. Russell Wilson, right? He sat for 4 years. He came in, did it year one. And so it was like 6 players that did it within their first 2 years, and then 8 players that did it from 3 to 4.
Yeah. And as a team, is a team lousy enough to have a high draft pick to get the shiny object quarterback, likely to have an offensive line prepared to protect the shiny object quarterback? I mean, look at what poor Caleb went through in Chicago. He was being pummeled game after game after game. It's entirely possible that his skill set was ready for what he had to do. I don't really think it was, but it's possible it was, but you'd never know because he's on his back 8 snaps out of 10. So when we put these quarterbacks on the hot seat as rookies or maybe second year, you have to really look at the totality of the package around them and say, listen, we really don't have a level playing field to assess how good this guy is at this position. Now you can move up to the tier 1 quarterbacks, and I think you'll see, and we'll look at some of the names, I think you'll see that in every case, they also have a pretty good running game and a strong offensive line, although Lamar Jackson might make a case for the opposite after being sacked 7 times by the Lions. But Paul, let's talk tier 1, and please tell me that in the list that you sent to us to discuss that you accidentally left off Jared Goff.
Yeah, I left off Jared Goff, but it was not accidental. I think he's a tier 2 guy along with guys like Jordan Love, and there's all those guys that play in there. But for me, tier 1 means you start him every week in your fantasy league, regardless of matchup. The team relies on him to make the plays that are going to win the game. So for me, that's Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, who we can't make a case that Joe Burrow had great protection around him, and I think he's paying the price with his physical health, right? And then there are the guys that are like, are they tier 1 guys? Maybe. I would put Mahomes in that category now because I feel like he's dropping off. Justin Herbert's in that maybe category. Baker Mayfield, as much as we don't want to look at Baker Mayfield and say, yeah, he's up there, but he is. But then there's so many other guys, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, that whole tier, who I don't think are in that upper echelon, but they're still really good quarterbacks.
Wait a minute. Just wait a minute. Just wait a minute. If I had the squealing brakes sound effect, I would have hit that here.
Yep.
The 2025 quarterback ratings on the NFL.com website have Herbert, Geno Smith. Now we're talking about completion percentage mostly, but overall rating.
Yeah,
as you get down the line a little bit further, we've got this guy named Goff ahead of this guy named Allen and Jackson and Mahomes. Now, am I here to make the case that Jared Goff is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes? Certainly not. You can't go there in a career setting, in a career context. But do you rank them according to in-season current performance or career path performance? What's the more fair assessment of tier 1? Carson, what's your context for a tier 1 ranking?
And who's right, me or Bill?
Right, clearly.
Oh, man. I think I'm right. So isn't it so hard to judge a player just on the 4 weeks? Like, we've got the history back in our mind. To say it doesn't play a role, it does. Yeah. But genuinely, what we should say is like, no, it's year to year. It's the not for long league, right? Like, we saw the demise of Russell Wilson. And like you said, he keeps reviving. People keep like, no, our system. But I mean, he nosedived so quickly. I think, but that seems to be more the exception. Is that right? Like, I mean, we look at Patrick Mahomes and we're kind of like, man, it doesn't feel like Patrick Mahomes. It feels like the pieces around him, kind of like you're saying.
Yeah.
So I would say who is the quarterback taking you to the Super Bowl this year? Like who's the confetti test? Who's the guy that he'll make the throws? You put him on any team and he automatically makes them better. That I would say is your tier one guys.
And who are those guys?
Yeah, I think if you look into that definition, you certainly look at Josh Allen. You certainly look at Herbert. You certainly have to look at Mahomes, even though they, when the Ravens and Chiefs play this week, one of them will end up 1-3 after that. And I was listening to another show earlier today, and they said, listen, you're not going to bait me into predicting the demise of the Chiefs. They've done too many amazing things over the years to have us do that. They do look a little more fallible right now. But I don't have a lot of reasons to avoid including Jared Goff on that list. I understand that they went one and done against Washington in the playoffs, and none of us could figure out what in the world that was. I don't know. And if that's the real version of
momentum,
if that's the real version of him, then we're in trouble. But they got beat that day by Jaden Daniels. I don't hear anybody suggesting Jaden Daniels should be on the tier one list yet. No. Maybe, but not yet. So who do I want? Who do I think is going to pass the confetti test? I like that. You have to say Josh Allen. You've got to say the guy at the Chargers. You've got to say Patrick Mahomes,
Lamar Jackson,
and Lamar. And I'm comfortable with adding Jared onto that list.
Yeah, where do you put Trevor Lawrence? Someone who has decent stats, but's in Jacksonville.
Yeah, we'll never know.
That's the other piece of this, right? So have we not seen maybe the first wave of journeyman quarterbacks that are like, oh, Baker, Sam Darnold, these guys that get out of their city after that first contract and then just flourish in other places.
Daniel Jones.
Right. Daniel Jones, a great example, right? And so now we're also in this place of, like maybe Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. He's just in the wrong place.
It's entirely possible. Yeah. Temperature check. Bears fan, Paul, how you doing? How you feeling? I mean, they got blown out and they got a pretty good dub. What's the Chicagoland mood?
I think the Bears have replaced the Cubs as like the irrational, ever optimistic thing for me, right? Most of the guys that I talk to are just Caleb Williams is he's still the guy. The Bears are just be patient, trust the process, all the things, So I feel like that's what's going on, but I don't know if that's just because Chicago so badly needs for the Bears to matter, and they haven't for so long, that we're just all hopeful. Like the Cubs, it kind of became, well, yeah, they're the Cubs, man. They're always going to suck, and that's just the way it is. That's never been the case with the Bears. We've always wanted that, and for them, and it hasn't helped that Green Bay has been so consistently good over that same period of time. So for this guy and the Bears fans that I hang out with, the mood is pretty optimistic. I think we're hoping for a 9-7 season and maybe some pushing for a wild card. But wouldn't be surprised if they fall short of the playoffs again this year.
They've got Ben. I've seen him a couple of times with that look on his face, like, wait, but what are we doing? That shouldn't be happening, right? So the rookie head coach has a learning curve as well. And I think I heard him say something like, we don't practice at a championship level, so we're not going to play at a championship level. I get it. You got all those things to work on, and a culture change doesn't happen quickly.
That takes time, and it's not a microwave process. Yeah. Talk to Steve Yzerman about that.
Right. Right.
And so,
that's on a crock pot setting. Speaking of culture change, is one coming to Clemson? You have any sympathy for Dabo as what's happening in the press conferences become more and more contentious? Is he going the way of Gundy?
Maybe. I think it's still too soon. I liked what he said the other day. Where was it? It's like, hey, how many of these have we won?
Right. You're spoiled.
Like, and again, it is the speed of today's, like, no, you have to be good forever, always. Yeah. I mean, can we look at Florida State University and maybe say like, oh, you're allowed to have an off year. Like, and I am not pro Michigan, but when they kept Harbaugh on as a coach, I was like, good. Like, who else are you going to get better? Like, I'm sorry he hadn't up to that point won the big game, but come on, guys, like, let's recognize that we just live in such a microwave world that has to constantly be going, and it bites people.
Yeah.
Paul's favorite. I think Dabo. Yeah, my thing with Dabo is he's always interesting. I always want to find his presser after the game, especially when they lose. Like Mike Gundy was like that too, you know. And so I'm here for that with Dabo. I'm here for that with Brian Kelly. I'm here for that with Lane Kiffin. All these personalities in college football just make it interesting, and they're kind of part of the landscape. And so I'm good with all of it. Although I'm going to get text messages from my Buckeye friends if I do not point out that Dabo's career seems to have lost all momentum ever since he ranked the Buckeyes number 11. Remember that way back when they only played like 6 games in the COVID year, so he ranked them number 11, and then they played them and smoked them. Dabo hasn't been the same ever since. So
your favorite guy, Brian Kelly, had a little fun at his press conference after a win. So there's a guy in the media who is apparently a regular foil with Brian Kelly, and was asking him some questions post-game about how poorly they're running the ball. Here's Brian getting a tad bit agitated.
Stop. Really? Is that the first question? What do you want me to tell you? I just laid it out for you. We played the game to win the game. We played the game to win the game.
And I think that's probably the mantra of every coach, especially when they get questioned after a win. They're like, what is it you people want from us? So speaking of legends, at the very, very beginning of this program today, I played just a quick soundbite from the man who filled in as head coach, as my Wolverines have a different actual head coach roughly every third week of every season these days. So with Sharon Moore on some suspension that I'll never figure out. Oh, by the way, he's got one more game coming next season at the beginning. Go figure. Biff Poggi steps in. Biff Poggi, P-O-G-G-I, steps in. This man is the Paul Bunyan of college coaching. He's a legend. Biff is coaching for free. He made some wonderful investments years ago, and he's rumored to be close to being a billionaire. He was on game day joking with Coach Saban about buying a Lamborghini or just a ridiculous. They were going back and forth on all this stuff. It was very, very funny. And then post game, as soon as Michigan got done with their victory last weekend, he was approached on the field with a question over Nebraska. He was approached with by the reporter with this question.
What are you going to do tonight to celebrate?
I'm going to eat some Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream with my wife and smoke a Cuban cigar and then probably go to the hospital.
And he went on and on. He had called Bryce Underwood Batman, and he thought we ought to get him the car and all that stuff. It just cracks me up. So there are characters out there.
Let me interrupt and say this. So Bob, I have the Michigan game on this past weekend, and Bobby is sitting next to me on the couch, and she's not interested in college football at all. And she looks up and she sees Michigan on the lower third on the scoreboard. She goes, "Hey, where's that coach guy?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she goes, "Don't they have some like eccentric guy coaching because their head coach got suspended? Where is he? I want to see him."
Yeah. So
I pointed him out to her like the next time he was on camera, and she watched the entire game with me just because she wanted to see Biff.
Biff.
Thought it was the funniest testament to the desire for us to be entertained by personalities, right?
And we do believe Michigan is the only program to ever have coaches named Biff, Chip, and Wink on the staff at the same time. So we're really looking up. I got to sneak this one in. This is a really quick edition of Say What?
Say what?
Kid, you tried your best and you failed miserably. The lesson is never try.
But tell us something. Huh? What?
Listen, we talking about practice.
Weaseling out of things is important to learn. It's what separates us from the animals, except the weasel.
I'm sorry about this afternoon.
That's what he said.
Say what?
Yeah, the whole intro to Say What this time is super long. It's way longer than the actual quote that I'm going to play here, but you've just got to hear, if you didn't already, the Dolphins head coach, Mike McDonald, he's in some hot water. They're terrible in Miami. They're just terrible. And
the momentum.
The momentum has left Miami. It has melted. He was asked after their last loss about how he was going to fix things and what went wrong. And this is this week's Say What quote, and maybe one you all want to write down on a 3x5 card and put on the dashboard of your vehicle.
To win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game, honestly. And that is how you lose the game.
Okay, I'll just give it to you one more time. I want you to all make sure you have that.
To win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game, honestly. And that is how you lose the game.
All right, that's it.
He's not wrong.
No, to win the game, you got to win the game.
Sounds like he could represent South Carolina in the Mississippi, right?
It's time to blow off some steam. Get it off your chest. Rant about what's most bothering you.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
It's time for Holy Discontent.
Carson, what's your holy discontent?
Well, college football season comes in and you're really excited. As a Big 12 fan, you're hoping you perform against the other conferences, and Big 12 flopped. I mean, as you watch the ACC win those big games, outside of Texas Tech and Utah having a solid win, Big 12 is looking a little bit less than, and just a bummer. Holy discontent. There you go.
It's good.
Paul?
Yeah, so my holy discontent has nothing to do with the world of sports, but hypothetically speaking, if someone sends you a meme of a famous Christian author with a quote that's entirely relevant for our current cultural moment, and you take it at its face value that it's actually something written by the guy, and you post it and you send it out to all your people, and then friends of yours repost it, and then you get a message from someone saying, hey, by the way, that's not a C.S. Lewis quote from Screw Tape Letters. He never said that.
I reposted that from you.
I know you did.
Because
I did all the things that I just described. So I am in damage control mode right now, as I have taken out withdrawals from my trust accounts with all the people that matter to me in my life. And I'm a little frustrated at the person that thought it would be cool to hijack the format of Screw Tape Letters and C.S. Lewis. I'm not even really sure what the purpose was, but shame on me for, hypothetically speaking, posting something that was
Do you want to name the originator of this false flag operation? I mean, this is legitimate holy discontent stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to get on Brandon Boulet's dark side.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
I just won't mention Brandon by name.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Discretion, the better part of valor at this time.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm going to go.
There's a lot of Brandon Boulets in the world.
Could be anybody. It's the John Smith of this age. You really never know. My holy discontent is the cheating scandal. So I teased it at the beginning of the program. So a couple of years ago, we played the soundbite on here, and we actually had the journalist on who had written the story out of Cleveland, I think, about the fishing competition where they discovered that the guy who had won a couple $100,000 in the fishing contest had actually somehow put ball bearings in the fish. And so the big exclamation at the weigh-in when they cut the fish open was, "We've got weights in fish." And it was this big deal. They were threatened with physical harm by the other competitors.
Yeah.
We had a chess cheating scandal last year. Remember, we were talking about electrodes hidden in certain body parts that somebody was signaling the guy what to move from off of from out of the room, and cameras hidden and stuff that, who knows? Well, gentlemen, just when you thought that marginally competitive sports couldn't go any darker, I bring you to the world of the World Stone Skipping Championships and the cheating scandal that has rocked the world. This comes from the BBC Scotland, dated on, thank you, rocked, September 15th. The world, I'm going to read a little bit here because there's no sound to back this up except for the sound of a stone skipping every, 6 feet. The World Stone Skimming Championships have been rocked by a cheating scandal after several competitors were disqualified for tampering. More than 2,200 people from 27 countries attended the event on the tiny island of Eastdale off the west coast of Scotland. Rules state that stones must come naturally from the naturally occurring island slate. In other words, you're just supposed to pick them up. However, some were found to have been suspiciously grinded into circular shapes to help them bounce on the water. Organizer Dr. Kyle Matthews told the BBC that the offenders had held their hands up, admitted it, and apologized. Entrants choose their own stones, and judges use a measuring device. Check this out, and this is like sermon illustration material. Yeah. Judges use a measuring device called the Ring of Truth to ensure that none of the stones are bigger than 3 inches in diameter. Each competitor is allowed 3 skims, and stones must bounce twice on the water before sinking. Dr. Matthews' nickname, you ready for this? Nickname? The Toss Master.
Master. That's good.
He told Good Morning Scotland that judges heard rumors and murmurings of some nefarious deeds. It was so. So, these stones were not fitting through the Ring of Truth. The problem, he says, the problem was we didn't just notice at the time that they were suspiciously circular. And he went on to express his greater disappointment and everything, and talked about the prize money at stake and all of the glory and the integrity of the competition has been compromised. So my holy discontent is for those who are cheating at the World Stone Skipping Championships. Carson, if we were to go to the edge of a lake right now and pick out some stones, what do you think your maximum number of skips would be? Are you a stone skipper?
Man, if I could hit double digits, I'd be thrilled. I mean, can I hit 10? Could I hit 11? That would be the goal. I'm just grateful that this Ring of Truth wasn't there when David was picking out his 5 stones from the water for Goliath. I mean, it'd been like, I'm starting to wonder about David right now. Like, do we have a scandal on our hands all the way back in 1 Samuel?
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And by the way, if so, from that time, would there be someone who would be the toss doctor, the stone skim doctor kind of a thing to step up and go, hey, wait a minute, Philistines, come on back. Come on.
Yeah. Like, sorry.
So I have a couple questions that need to be asked at this point. And
there's lots of questions. I can't imagine the number of questions that are coming out of this.
The first question is, why is it that we here on this podcast are strangely drawn to stories like the guys who stuff weights in the fish so they can win, or the guy who stuffs electrodes so he can win at chess, or
because we're about connecting faith to life and sports. So integrity is part of this.
Yeah. So that's my first question. My second question is, when you're a contestant in the World Stone Skipping Championship, is it total number of skips, or is it the distance between the first touch and the second touch? I'm wondering, because what you read said that it's got to have a minimum of 2 to qualify. So I'm wondering, I just don't know. I feel like we should take Carson's research department and sit them on that. And then my third is just a comment, and this is maybe more for Carson. I was talking to someone last week in all of our meetings here with the EFCA, and we were talking fantasy football, and he asked me what was the consequence for finishing in last place in our league, and I told him. And then he said, I'm so proud of my son's fantasy football league because this is under the heading of odd kind of marginal sports events, right? The consequence for finishing last in their fantasy football league is that the person has to eat 71 and a half hot dogs before they are allowed to consume any other food of any kind, because that was Joey Chestnut's number in the July 4th deal. So they voted on it, and they decided that the guy had to, whoever loses has to go to the store, buy 71 and a half hot dogs and can't eat anything else until all those are gone. Could you imagine?
Oh, that's awful. That sounds like a death sentence. Oh my word.
Please be all beef, right?
It doesn't matter. That's begging for disaster on so many different levels. Wow. Oh, wow. All right, let's go into our That Guy.
Right now, this minute, today, this week, I am the man!
I'm going to start us off with That Guy today because last Sunday, something really fun took place with the NFL on CBS as they celebrated their 50th anniversary.
Yep.
You are looking live at U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. It's a battle of backup quarterbacks. Jake Browning for the Bengals, Carson Wentz for the Vikings. Both teams hoping they can deliver.
And they went old school. I mean, they brought out the original theme music. They had Brent Musburger come back and deliver that classic, You Are Looking Live. And they carried the theme on throughout the pregame show and did a lot of retro stuff. And man, it took me back to being a kid, because then you were just praying that your team's game would be one of them that either they would show or at least they would talk about at halftime. You get to see a highlight. And I don't know about you guys. Carson's not old enough, but Paul, in Detroit, because of the league's old blackout rule, which was horrendous, the Lions were playing in the Silverdome back then, which seated 82,000 people. And we would be, here I am living, 70-something miles from the Silverdome, and the blackout range was 90 miles. So any media market that would cover so we were always blacked out when they didn't sell out, and they weren't very good. So Thanksgiving would usually sell out. We get to watch that. But every once in a while, the Bears are coming to town or the Packers are coming to town. And they had to be sold out by like Thursday at whatever game time was Sunday. It had to be sold out by that time on Thursday.
Yeah.
And we would be just hanging on the edge of our seats. There would be radio updates like the Lions have 6,000 seats remaining. And then the furniture chain of Art Van, which no longer exists, would almost always step up and buy the last 4,000 tickets just in the nick of time. And we would all rejoice, and we would get to see our Lions play. And it would be mostly the NFL on CBS, because they used to be the NFC network. Used to be always so that was really cool. CBS did a great job with it, except for the weird wigs and beards that they made the guys wear at the beginning. But just a little retro moment for this old guy. It was fun. All right, Paul, your turn.
That's good. Okay, so That Guy this week, I'm not sure if it's Keegan Bradley or Bryson DeChambeau or both of them, but I just love the harmony surrounding the U.S. Ryder Cup team as DeChambeau's coming under fire and the players and everyone are rallying around him and everything else. And I think we have Keegan Bradley talking about DeChambeau.
And just to set it up a little bit more, Golf Channel's pretty outspoken analyst, Brandel Chambly, said that nobody wants DeChambeau in that U.S. locker room, that he's, he didn't say cancer, but he used another word. I can't remember what it was. And that Bryson's only there to promote his YouTube channel and that kind of thing. It was really an unmerited shot that he took. I don't really know why. So here's Keegan's response.
Say about Bryson, one of the most incredible things is he qualified for this team off of 8 starts, which is, unheard of. But what I'm most impressed about Bryson is the effort that he's made to be a part of this team. He's had to travel, go out of his way to meet us in our places, and he's gone above and beyond what we would ever ask of a player, and that's the thing I'm most proud of. You can go on and on about what an incredible player he is and golfer, but what he's done for this team, put in the extra effort, is it amazing to see.
So, good defense of a player by his captain for sure.
Yeah, I love that. They shouldn't be arguing about stuff that doesn't matter. So good. I'm glad he's there. He's fun to watch, and I hope the U.S. wins the Ryder Cup.
It's going to be a fun time for sure. And Beth Page in New York is the golf course, and New York fans are all over it, and it's going to be an adventure. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. They're not necessarily the most friendly of crowds when you're against their home team, and it's going to be quite fun. Carson, do you have anybody in the that guy category?
Yeah, I got a big one and then an honorable mention. I know Mike Gundy is being let go, right? But man, here's the blip about it. Spent more than half of his life, 35 of his 58 years, as an OSU player, assistant, or head coach. Wow. Before Gundy, they had 4 winning seasons in 16 years, and he led them to 18 straight winning seasons. Man. I mean, again, being let go, totally. Like, we all understand that. But, man, he has a history in Stillwater, Oklahoma. And he brought us one of the greatest sound bites when a local newspaper writes up his quarterback. And as he is at the press conference, says, a mother of children gave me this article. Like, okay, good. Great clarification, Mike. Like, just all the Mike-isms in here. Continues on by saying, this is why I don't read the news, and a garbage editor that crescendos at our I'm 40, I'm a man, right? Like, just one of the greatest quotes in college football, like right up there with playoffs, like just. And so shout out to Mike Gundy for a great, like, just stint at OSU. Yep.
I'm gonna support you on that. While you were talking, I found it.
Where are we at in society today? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me or our coaches. Don't write about a kid that does everything right, that's heart's broken, and then say that the coaches said he was scared. That ain't true.
And it goes on, and it's really epic. You're absolutely right to call that.
Okay, so let's double down on Carson's. Go ahead.
Oh, and so my second one, do you want to? So my second one, shout out to CU as Ralphie 7 took the field for the first time. Her maiden journey, 700 pounds, and she flew out there. Like, grade A performance. I can't wait to hear what the nickname is, but Ralphie 7, like, great start.
How many handlers? How many handlers are holding on to this massive beast? 4?
4.
That's 4 mosquitoes. That's 4 mosquitoes.
And it's a female. Like, it's always females because the males can be 6 feet tall and $2 grand. So, yeah, it's just awesome. Ralphie 7, props.
Ralphie 7. I was just going to say, Carson, my son Jake, who went to Oklahoma State, texted me one day and told me while he was at school there, he's like, my business, whatever class thing that he was in, got to go to Mike Gundy's house for the day. And they spent the day with Mike Gundy. And Jake was just over the moon about how much fun that was. So I texted him back and said, are you going to get a mullet? Are you going to grow a mullet? And he's like, no. But it was a great day.
That's too good. All right, let's bring it home with the 3-minute message.
Homer, I'd like you to remember Matthew 7:26. The foolish man who built his house on sand.
And you remember Matthew 21:17.
And he left them and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there?
Yeah. Think about it.
Yeah, so as we close things out today, we kind of harken back to something that happened on Sunday afternoon in Arizona. At the stadium where the Cardinals play, there was a memorial for Charlie Kirk, and you probably all know that by now. And I turned it on, not even really realizing what was going on, but I saw something come across social media. I'm like, oh, I'll go check that out. I couldn't turn it off. It was really very powerful. It was really very well done. I won't get into any of the politics of it, but I will say that I was surprised to hear gospel presentations from people that I didn't know would bring that, including members of the cabinet. The worship music beforehand was spectacular. And Mrs. Kirk, of course, dropped everybody's jaws. And in my case, I was just crying at her gracious message of forgiveness for the person who took her husband's life. Well, at the same time, while there were, 100,000 people is the estimate that we're getting, one of the people in attendance was a member of the Chicago Cubs. His name is Matt Shaw, and he's a rookie. And he got permission from the team to miss a game in a playoff stretch, to go be at the funeral for his friend. And here is how one of the broadcasters for the New York Mets, who are playing the Cubs, decided to address the absence of Shaw the day prior.
Shaw had Cubs World in a tizzy this weekend when he was not here for the Cubs game with the Reds. Game they lost 1-0, and in which his lack of presence was felt. It was later revealed that he had been given permission to attend Charlie Kirk's funeral. And I don't want to talk about any of the politics of it, but the thought of leaving your team in the middle of a race for any reason other than a family emergency really strikes me as weird.
So as Mets announcer Gary Cohen pronounces his absence as being weird, Mr. Cohen is on the receiving end right now of some rather direct comments from people who have, I guess, what we would call perspective and hearts. After the game, when he returned on Monday, Matt Shaw was asked for his response to that sort of criticism, and this is powerful.
Are you concerned about the backlash, because there is a lot of politics involved with this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm not concerned at all, no. My connection with Charlie was through our faith. That's something that drives me every day. That's the reason why I'm able to do what I do every day, and that's something I'm extremely thankful for. I know without my faith and without the many blessings I've been given in my life that I wouldn't be here, able to talk to you guys, able to help this team eventually go and win championships. So that's something I feel really, really blessed about. Whatever backlash comes is okay. I feel strong about my faith and that what was meant to be happened.
Man, a great answer from a young guy who went on to talk in another conversation about how Mrs. Kirk had actually texted him and asked if he would please attend because he was very close with her husband, and Charlie apparently was a big Cubs fan. Didn't know that. So my 3-minute message or my closing would simply be this, friends. Remember the things that count, the things that matter. And while we all are very much invested in our favorite teams, and it's playoff time in baseball, and it's the start of football season, and I'm right there with you, man. I'm cheering, I'm angry, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm wondering what's happening. It's a toy box of life. And what happened in that arena on Sunday afternoon was the real box of life. It was a time that many millions of people have pointed to in the days since as being a tidal wave of impact in their lives. There are so many people saying, I haven't been to church in years, and I started to look into some of the things that were being said as I had this thing on, and they were back in church, or they're going to be. Bible reading, commitments to Christ, all of the things. I'm not theologically astute enough to know if you would just be foolish to declare it, but it certainly feels like amazing things are happening across the country as an outpouring of the life of Charlie Kirk and from that service. And to think that you would need to be missing that in favor of a baseball game, that seems weird. To quote Gary Cohen, that part seems weird. To have your life so imbalanced that you would think that you would need to prioritize that over the personal request from the widow for your friend. So friends, just remember the things that matter. You keep those things front and center in your life. Do whatever you can in everything that you do in word and in deed to bring glory to God. That's the command. That service did a really, really wonderful job of honoring that thought. And I think it's pretty cool that this kid who loves baseball, obviously, he's made it to the major league life. He's a rookie, but he thought about the bigger picture, and he went there to honor his friend. So well done by Matt Shaw. I would guess at some point in the next because we're in an apology stage these days, I'm guessing Mr. Cohen will probably be sharing something along those lines. And that's not really the most important part. The most important part is that God was honored by what happened there. And I think that Matt Shaw would do the same thing 100 times out of 100. So good stuff. Good stuff, man. Thank you so much. Good to connect with you all again. And Carson, I cannot wait for the next report from your research team regarding the stone skipping competition parameters. We need to know more, and we may very well have to bring on some sort of a journalist from across the pond to bring us inside of that. So, or Paul, I don't know if you got the budget for Church Pew. Maybe we head over there and broadcast.
We could do that, Bill. I do want to just commend you for blowing right past any conversation on this in this episode of our podcast about the current standings in our Church Pew Sports pick.
I promise that was unintentional.
Because Carson right now is in first place, and Bill, you're not.
No,
I'm going to be the bigger man in this scenario, and or.
All right, Paul. Go ahead, run it down.
No, we're done.
You are looking live at the standings for Church Pew Sports, and I am in the basement. Firmly.
Bill's in the basement. Carson is in first place. And we have a lot of good games this weekend. This is a weekend to watch college football. So
very good. All right, boys. Yeah. Thanks so much. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you check us out at churchpewsports.com and also on our social medias. And love to have you spread the word about the fun we're having over here at Church Pew Sports. See you next time.